say what you say. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are pulling up to this video. It's your boy Robbie, and I'm back to react. I am so glad y'all pulled up on me to watch this video, taking time out of your day to check out my video. And please don't say anything about my shades. Who said it was a crime to wear shades inside? I don't want my eyes to be seen right now. Not that there's anything wrong with my eyes, but I just want to wear shades inside. Anyway, this video is going to be coming from that YouTube channel, Sandra Faye. Being poor is more expensive than you think. Yeah, I can honestly say that if you are borderline poor or broke, whatever term you want to use, you are struggling financially. You know what I mean? It's more of a headache than it is, you know, just a peaceful go about your day type of day. But we're not going to waste no time. We're going to see what she's talking about. We have reacted to her videos before. I'll be sure to link this video so that y'all can go subscribe to her channel, support her. But let's not waste no time. Let's get to the video.
Poverty is expensive.
America has literally built a system where being poor is more expensive. On a bill you couldn't afford? Well, now you owe more. Miss a payment because you were trying to juggle rent and groceries? Well, now your credit drops and you owe even more money. Overdraw your account by a few dollars? Well, now you owe $50. Like, the system punishes you for already being behind.
Money don't come in on time, late fees. Out the
I've seen this before.
Out the tail, late fees. And then we gotta be even more late because you gave me a late fee and knowing that I didn't have the amount when I was supposed to have it. Surely you don't think I have room for extra money at a later date.
Everyone in this country is cash poor. Everybody. The millionaires are cash poor. The billionaires are cash poor. You think that you're supposed to be spending money to keep up with millionaires and billionaires. They're not spending money. They're not. Millionaires are robbing Peter to pay Paul. The billionaires are Paul. Our infrastructures only benefit the billionaires. Only benefit the billionaires, not the millionaires, not the thousandaires, not the middle class people, not the poor. It only benefits the billionaires.
Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. You can support uncensored conversations via Cash App or buying your girl a coffee. Hey y'all, I just want to pop in here and have a conversation about how expensive it is to be poor. This might sound crazy if you haven't experienced being low income, but there are so many hidden fees, hidden costs when it comes to being poor, living paycheck to paycheck, that I don't think a lot of people consider. And it's one of the reasons why climbing out of poverty is extremely difficult. Now, I'm not one of those people that thinks everything in life should be easy. No, I do think that hard work, perseverance, sacrifice does build character. So I'm not one of those people that thinks that everyone should just get everything that they've ever wanted without having to work for it. No. Bootstrap your way through life as best you can. Be as creative as you can. That's my mindset. However, there are things that we should talk about in regard to how difficult it is to crawl, climb, propel yourself out of poverty. One of the aspects of being poor that makes it extremely expensive is that you essentially pay more for everything. If you've ever had a Sam's Club membership or Costco or any of these buy in bulk retailers, then you already know where I'm going with this. When you go to those stores, you buy a lot of things up front, and the cost per ounce or the cost per pound is significantly smaller because you're buying in bulk. Another example would be beef. If you were to buy an entire cow or half a cow, okay, if you go to these websites and you buy half a cow, it's going to feed you for about, depending on how big your family is, it's going to feed you for about 8 to 10 months. Most people do not have $1,000 they can put up front in order to save that amount of money in the long run. What you opt for is buying a smaller amount at a premium because you can't afford to buy it in bulk at a discount.
This right here is a half a...
You know what else is interesting too? And y'all probably see this as well. This is another tactic they use. If you ever go on your phone or you're using any of these softwares to make content or make thumbnails, whatever you're choosing, whatever it may be, notice that they encourage you to pay for it for a year, and they'll give you like 20% off. Whereas if you was to pay on it monthly, they charge you more. So that's definitely true that they punish you for doing it month to month. Whereas if you just go ahead and just pay for Adobe Photoshop Express for a year, you pay about, you'll save about $20, $30 if you did it that way. So that's true.
beef, it goes from this to all of this. All vacuum sealed, ready for your freezer. How long would this last for your family?
All right, y'all, it's tax season. I hope y'all ain't spent y'all tax money up. I'm pretty sure most of y'all have, but y'all know that every year I talk about how I order half a cow for my family. And I talk about and I explain, because a lot of people don't know that process even exists. And, you know, is grass-fed beef tastes completely different from that sludge you get from the grocery store, and at the end of the day it comes out way cheaper than going to the store and just get. I always tell y'all do this around tax season because it is a lot of money up front. As you see, the deposits is $200, $400, $800, and then at the end price will end up being what you see at the top. But overall, I mean, throughout the year you're gonna save way more money than that if you're going to the store.
See, that could work if you got a house and you got a few deep freezers, but for the average person that's living in an apartment or just a modest house that doesn't have deep freezers and a bunch of refrigeration for that beef, where you gonna put all that? You know what I'm saying? It's a dope concept though. I'm not knocking it, right? But most people are not living in those circumstances where they can do something like that. You know what I mean? They don't have nowhere to put all that.
Costs more per unit simply because you don't have enough money up front. So being poor means you are paying a premium for a smaller amount of things. And this kind of reminds me of the conversation I had about apartments, where if you have a shorter lease, it's more expensive versus a longer lease, which gives you a bunch of different discounts because you're going to be staying there longer. If you have to buy in small supply, I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but if you have to buy in small supply, then you're going to pay a lot more per unit for that product, which adds up. It absolutely does add up. Another aspect of this is if you have bad credit, and bad credit becomes a poverty tax.
If your score is low, lenders charge you more. 20% interest, 30, even 36. And if you pay, they cash out big. If you don't, no sweat. They take your car, your deposit, your fees. They still win. And this doesn't just apply for loans or credit cards. Insurance companies check your score too. And if it's low, they'll charge you more for a home and car insurance. You're getting hit from all angles.
It's almost like in America, don't make no mistake. Don't mess up your credit. You know what I'm saying? Don't buy more than you can afford, because boy, it's so, you know, and you know what's so crazy? Today I was actually having a conversation with ChatGPT, right? Having a conversation with a damn phone or app. But I was just talking to it about, you know, large scale automation, where all of these mundane jobs are wiped out. How are people going to afford to buy anything? And it even says, ChatGPT even said that it's a large contradiction if large scale automation was to become a thing, because if there are no jobs and you don't have consumers, how do companies plan to make profit? America is just one big ass department store. Everybody's trying to sell you something, whether it's a physical, tangible product, or they're trying to get your attention. You know what I'm saying? They want you to pay with your attention or whatever. Everybody is trying to, and even me, I'm no exemption. I'm no exception. Everybody's trying to get to it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Then there's collections. When you default,
collections.
The debt gets sold to collectors for pennies, like 10 cents on the dollar. Now they own it, and they'll pull your report, call you, try to sue you. So who profits? Everyone. The lender, the collector, the credit bureaus, they all pay to access your report. And the worse your report is, the more valuable it becomes. Because your report predicts risk. They don't need you to pay your debt.
That's why I got one damn credit card, one Capital One credit card with like a $1,600 limit, and I keep that under 30%. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'm about to pay $100 on that tomorrow. You know what I mean? I try to keep, and my credit score is decent. You know what I'm saying? I try not to use that damn credit card.
They just need your data to stay messy so they can sell it over and over and over again.
If you have late payments, if you have something in collection, and not everybody, and I want to make sure I make this very clear, not everybody ends up in these situations because of poor decisions. Some people end up in these situations because of health complications. You get diagnosed with cancer, you have United Healthcare, they're not covering it, and you still need to get those treatments. Guess what? You got to foot the bill, and that's going to be hanging over your head. So whereas you could be paying your mortgage, whereas you could be paying your car, credit cards, whatever it is that you need to pay for, a chunk of your money is going towards paying off medical debt. Not everybody ends up.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's the real messed up part about this whole thing when it comes to existence in the world. Everything has a tax. Everything has a dollar sign attached to it. Whether it be you being able to eat, your health, nutrition, everything, affordability, like where you live, your means of getting around, everything has a dollar price or a dollar sign attached to it. And all it takes is for one glitch in the matrix that'll throw your whole off. Whether that be an illness or your car breaks down, you know what I'm saying? Or your house gets caught in a fire or flood, you know what I mean? Natural disaster. Any of these things can happen and you have no type of means of being able to bounce back. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy to me how life is now. And it was like this already well before I got here, but it's just on another level.
In these situations because they're just irresponsible. You might find yourself in a terrible credit situation for whatever reason. Maybe you were irresponsible. Some people are in these predicaments because they are blatantly irresponsible with their money. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They just buying a bunch of stuff and they have no rhyme or reason to it. And now they want to get online and beg for some money because they were stupid.
Did you hear about the single mom who was given $50,000 to help her get on her feet? But as soon as she got the money, her ex came back and now she's broke again. Her community rallied around her and gathered up donations totaling $50,000 so she and her kids would be okay. Guess what? Her ex decided he want to come back and be a family again. He came back and blew through all those donations and now she's broke again.
We got a mix of all types of people that end up in these situations. But when you have bad credit, that becomes a poverty tax. So if your credit is low, guess what? You're paying higher interest rates. You have larger deposits, higher insurance premiums. Your past mistakes become reoccurring monthly expenses. If your credit is good and you have oodles of money, you're not worrying about it. For instance, if we're talking about buying a house, you might have a mortgage that is $1,700 a month simply because your credit is good and you can afford your closing costs, down payment.
But let your job, relocate or get outsourced or they start downsizing. Again, this is what I'm saying. Like, these are the things that they don't, and she might get to it. She's probably going to talk about it. But I'm just saying in a general conversation, these are the things that aren't talked about. It's like, you are adjusting your lifestyle based on what you make. And you don't really know the stability of your job. Everything is so volatile now. So you're making all of these moves on the notion that you're going to have this job. And it's like you betting everything on that. And what we are learning is that, for me at least, these corporations, or rather this country, they didn't plan for this. When they decided that they wanted to make everything automated and get rid of mundane jobs and, jobs that require a lot of physical labor or just labor period, like cashiers and stuff like that, they didn't think about, okay, what are we going to replace jobs with so that people still have disposable income? Because people use their paychecks or a portion of their paychecks for disposable income, where they buy products from these companies so that the companies can get and make profit and meet their margins. But if you're taking away jobs, say, I work for a cell phone company and somebody that works for UPS gets laid off, but they have phone service with the company I work for, they're going to call and say, look, I got to cancel my service because I can't afford y'all anymore. My job let me go. So now I can't stay with you. So now I get affected by that because now I'm going to have to either have stagnant pay or they're going to start taking things away. You know what I mean? So it's a abdominal effect. It's a trickle down effect. You feel me? So it's like they got us out here betting it all on our 9-to-5s. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you got good credit. Yeah, you got a good job. But like I said, one glitch in the matrix can just throw all of that off. You know what I mean?
All of that. Whereas if you have bad credit, you become a high risk investment. In order to offset that, what they do is they charge you more. For the same house, $1,700. For the same house, you might be paying $2,800, $3,100 for your mortgage simply because you are a high risk. So it's more expensive to have bad credit and not have a safety net of funds when it comes to getting an apartment, getting insurance, buying a house, buying a car. All of these things really do add up, and bad credit essentially boils down to a poverty tax. And on top of that, I mentioned cars. A reliable car can save you so much money. Time is money. So not having to wait for the bus, not having to carpool, wait for somebody else, not worrying about whether or not your car is going to break down on the way to work. All of these things cost money and time and money. The time you're spending waiting for the bus, you could be making some money doing a side hustle or taking care of something at the house or whatever the case may be, having a second job, who knows? Having a reliable car saves you so much money. However, if you cannot afford a reliable car and you have to get a Hoopty, okay, a Pinto, if you can only afford that, then that unreliable source of transportation is going to drain your pockets. Repairs, towing, missed work, all of that. You know, it might seem like you're getting good discount. Hey, I got this car for $1,500, but how much money are you going to be spending? How much time are you going to be losing trying to keep that car put?
Listen, man, and this is where I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit different with this conversation or topic. I don't care what it is. Do not go out here and get yourself a car note if you can help it. If you can help it. If you can somehow manage to get you a car that's used, but it's in good working condition, something that you can fix easily and source parts for that aren't going to be over the top, then get you a cash car, because I'm telling you, at least you know that if your car does break down, right, depending on what type of job you have, hopefully you got a job that's paying you decent and you know people in your family, or maybe you're a guy and you can work on your own car or whatever, where you don't need to go to a mechanic and you can just get the parts for cheap and fix it yourself, or go to a scrap yard or whatever and just get the parts from a car that might have been in an accident. But no, do not do that, because when you get you a car that's you're paying a note for, you're not accounting for maintenance and what could go wrong with that car. So now not only are you paying the note, but now you also have to pay to fix it. That's more of an expense. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, don't do the whole car note thing.
New tires, oil change, your transmission goes out.
That cheaper car will cost you more than a $10,000 to $15,000 car, and here's why. You get a car that's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It's at the end of life, high mileage, things are wore out. You end up fixing it on a monthly basis. So where you think, hey, I'm going to spend $5,000 on a car because I don't want a payment, but you end up with service bills, $200, $300, $400, $500.
That's not true. And the reason why I say that's not true is because I'll use myself as an example. I have a 2007 Lexus GS 350. I bought that car. Me and my dad got that car for about $6,700. You know what I'm saying? I was in an accident. Luckily, I got out of that with my life. No injuries, no lost limbs or anything like that. I owe all that to God. And yeah, they were at fault. So their insurance wrote me out a check, $5,400. I added another $1,600 to that. And my father lucked up and found my Lexus. Now, since I've had this car, as far as work being done to it, the only thing that I have had to do in terms of the car's ability to drive is the alternator. And I put that in myself. Now, I will admit, it took me a month to get that in there. And the only reason why is because with this particular Lexus, they have 3 bolts mounted mounting the alternator to the engine block. And so there's one that's tucked up underneath that's being held on by one of those nuts that you screw on. And mine's for whatever reason was stripped. So it was a bitch to get it off. I had to basically grind it and file it down with a Dremel, the metal. I had to grind that, and it took me a month to do that. And I almost was going to give up, but I didn't. And I managed to grind it down, the nut itself and the stem that it was connected to, and I was able to get the alternator off. And so far, my car has been running. It hasn't been giving me any issues. I have replaced the battery. I have gotten 2 new tires, but my car has over, I think I'm at 300,000 miles now, over 300,000, but it's still running. It's a Toyota engine. You know what I'm saying? Them Japanese cars are built to last. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't say that. It just depends on the car. And if you're somebody like me that knows how to work on cars, you're not bothered by that.
$100 a month, you're really making a car payment, honestly, at the end of the day. So that's my opinion, is sometimes those cheaper cars.
This is typical salesman tactics. Like, let me just get you in a car because it doesn't make sense for you to buy a used car. No. And then you end up upside down in that. The car ends up being worth less as soon as you drive it off the lot. This is known fact that once you drive that car off the lot, it already depreciated, 20% when you drove it off the lot? So the car ends up being worth less than what you're paying for it. And then you got to factor in all the interest that you got to pay the bank. No.
Will cost you more than really
Unless
putting
you
that
got it like
$5,000
that.
down and making a small payment. Not to mention, a $10,000 or $15,000 car is going to last you 4 or 5 years at least. You get a $3,000, $4,000 car, you might run through that car in a year or two, and you got to buy another one.
These are things to
Depends on the
consider,
vehicle,
and
though.
it ultimately does make living, transporting yourself to and fro, that much more expensive. And here's another thing, and all of this kind of compounds on itself. You end up not
The whole car thing is subjective, though.
being able to afford to save. Many people think that poor people don't save because they're irresponsible, and for some, yes. For some of y'all, yes, your ass is mad irresponsible. That's why you cannot save a damn dime. However, for some, they simply do not have enough margin in order to save. So by the time you done paid your rent, by the time you done paid your car note, or if you don't have a car note, by the time you paid off them tires that you had to get, that transmission you had to get, all these different things that you had to do to that hoopty, okay, the Batmobile, all these different things that you had to do to that car to keep it pushing, after you pay for groceries, any other little things that you need to survive, you're not left with anything. And for a lot of Americans, you're left in the negative. You're absolutely left in the negative.
Let me tell y'all something. And this goes out to a lot of young adults. I mean, and this could apply to adults that are my age and older, if you can still do this. Make sure you live at home for as long as you possibly can. If your mom and your dad are still living and they are open to letting you come back and live at home and save money, that is probably going to be the best thing you can do, especially if you are one who has debt and you need to reset so that you can get your finances back on track. You got consumer debt that you got to pay down, and your parents ain't really hitting you over the head to be paying bills because they got their stuff together. Go back and live at home and stack your damn money. Clear out all your debt, credit card debts, you know what I'm saying? So that when you do jump back out here in the world, you got a decent credit score that they can go off. And it's like, okay, that would be your best bet if you can do that. Or if you got a relative that ain't gonna really, hammer you about bread, because this is not a game. Like, it's real out here.
Don't have anything left over to save. Guess what? You're not saving. There's no room to save money. There are different ways to get creative. I've seen so many really good videos, and I mean, you're still paying a premium. Going back to one of the first points we made, if you can't buy in bulk, you're paying a premium for that item. However, there are some wonderful channels on TikTok, and there are probably some on YouTube as well, where they show you how to turn food that you find from the Dollar Tree into hearty meals. I think that content like that is so necessary and useful, especially for
Yeah, but a lot of this food is processed. You know what I mean? In the dollar stores. Like, when you look at this, y'all, when y'all look at this freezer, Tony's Pizza, Red Baron, like, a lot of this food is lacking in nutrition. And for somebody who's my age and older, like, you don't need to really be consuming this type of stuff. This is where, like, if you were a car, like, when you think about your car, right? You know, there are some people out there that'll just put the bullshit gas in their car, won't keep up with the oil changes like they're supposed to, just abusing the integrity of the vehicle. You may be able to get away with that early on in the vehicle's life cycle because it's got less than 100,000 miles. But once you start creeping up on 100,000 miles and the car starts getting into its golden years, keep pulling that same and see if your car don't start showing you signs that, look, I'm going to break down on you. Your body does the same thing. As you get older, eating this type of stuff is not good for your mental. It's not good for your body. Like, your body starts telling you, like, look, I can't eat this processed no more. Like, it's lacking in nutrition. Like, no, start putting stuff in me because now I'm going into my golden years. Like, you got to, you know what I mean?
For folks that are going through it, right? The economy is trash.
If you're going through
Folks
it,
are going
do
through
what you
it.
gotta do.
I'm not one of those people that want to sit around and just wag the finger. I would rather you have resources to figure your out. I would rather you have the knowledge in order to make it work while things aren't working. There are awesome videos, and I'll insert a clip here of what I'm talking about, where they show you how to make really good meals out of items that you get from the Dollar Tree.
First thing I do when I get here is I check prices on things, keep in mind, and then start to put things together in my head. For example, see these beans here? The whole shelf here is $1.50. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. As I got beans in my mind, I'll come over and I'll start checking rice. I'll see what has the most flavor, protein, or vitamins, and then make my decision from there. For example, Mexican style rice and those beans will go good together as far as a flavor profile. So right there, if I were to grab one of these and one of those, that's $3. I don't need to add any seasonings because it's all flavored. Now would come to the frozen section where most of the meats and proteins are. And for something like this, for $5 plus those rice and beans, you just made an entire meal for $8. There's a glaze in this bag that'll work throughout the whole process. A little emulsification, which I taught you in other videos, will get the job done.
See, he knows this, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can make a good meal out of Dollar Tree food. I'm pretty sure you can. You know what I'm saying? If you got to do what you got to do, you know?
And that's why I teach emulsification, flavor profiling, the do's, the don'ts, and all the seasonings inside of already made foods. So you guys can do it at home, enjoy a decent meal for an affordable price.
Now, I kind of hinted at this before, but time then becomes a luxury. Waiting for the bus, standing in lines, comparing prices, working multiple jobs. Time is money, and when you're poor, you lose both. It makes crawling out of poverty that much harder. When it comes to people that don't worry about their resources, they're not sitting there waiting for public transit unless they just want to.
Yo, I'm not going to hold y'all. I was actually talking to my peoples, and I was just saying to them, like, I am done with having broke people problems. I want to have rich people problems. You know what I mean? Broke people problems, like not having enough money to replace your tire. And so now you got to throw the donut on there for a week until you get paid. So you can't drive as fast as everybody else. I'm tired of that. You know what I'm saying? Not that that's my situation, but you get tired of, you know, being amongst that energy or just being around that. I want to be able to wake up and say, you know what? I don't know what steakhouse I want to eat at tonight. Or I don't know if I want to drive the AMG or jump in the G80. Or should I wear these Rick Owens or Balenciagas to this rooftop party? Just to give y'all an example. Those are rich people problems. That's what I want to have. You know what I'm saying? Not broke people problems.
Unless they just like taking the bus or taking the train and it's just, time for them to just chill and listen to music or whatever the case may be. Unless they have that luxury, they're not sitting there waiting on no bus or train unless they absolutely just want to do it. They're not standing in the grocery store for that extra 20 minutes trying to figure out if it's cheaper to get this or cheaper to get that, comparing prices. They're not using their time to clip out coupons and find every bit of savings that they can. All of these things really do add up. Your time becomes a luxury. When you are poor, you don't have time to Nara Smith it up in the kitchen, okay? You don't have time to just sit and chill and relax, because that time you're actually trying to work your way out of poverty is going to be spent either trying to get to your job, trying to find another job, or trying to save money, penny pinch wherever you can. And I want to really hit hard on this point. Cheap products cost more. And I learned this the hard way.
There's a reason why rich people stay rich and poor people stay poor. And it's not what you might think. It all comes down to one fundamental belief when purchasing goods, and that is rich people purchase once and never purchase again. Poor people purchase once and purchase over and over again. If a coffee machine is worth $2,000, you might think it's expensive. So you go for the coffee machine that is worth $600 because it's cheaper. But what you don't see is that the $600 coffee machine is going to die on you way faster, and it's not going to have the lifespan of the $2,000 coffee machine. So ultimately, over time, you're going to purchase the $600 coffee machine, and you might have to purchase another one in a year or in a year and a half, or it might break down in 6 months.
So, well, then that says a lot about the company and the products that we're making. So instead of us making a good, affordable product, we're just basically putting out slop, just creating stuff for the sake of just getting money. Like, what is this here? You know what I'm saying? Why should somebody have to spend $2,000? And this is coming from somebody who will ultimately be rich. If I could buy a $600 appliance, you damn right I'm expecting it to work for a very long time. I should not have to expect it to die out on me in a year. That's insane. For me to then go and spend $2,000 on one that will also break down, like, come on, man. It's not making any sense. I get it though.
Meaning you're gonna have to spend $600 now, $600 in a year, $600 in the next 6 months, and it's gonna become more expensive than if you have purchased the $2,000 coffee machine. And that goes for everything, like I mentioned, shoes, pants, shirts, coffee machines, whatever you wanna put it. It's not about the price tag of the item, it's about the actual cost per use of the item. If you look at things that way, you'll get more money out of your item, and you'll stop spending more money in the long run.
I have learned this the hard way. I will give you guys an example. Y'all, I remember back when, phones had headphone jacks. They don't really have that anymore, but back in the day, okay, showing my age, back in my time, cell phones had an aux jack where you could plug in your headphones and listen to your music. You don't have to worry about Bluetooth or anything like that. You just plug it in and go. Me being cheapy Sandra, I didn't want to pay Bluetooth prices, okay? Because they still had the option there. I wasn't trying to pay them Bluetooth prices, so I would opt for the cheap headphones that you just plug into your phone. And what I found was those little cheap headphones didn't last me but a lick. I bend them the wrong way. Next thing you know, the song is skipping, it's staticky, or I have to bend it a certain way to make it work. And so over time, replacing headphones after headphones after headphones after headphones, by that time I could have just bought a good quality Bluetooth headphone and been good that entire time. But no, let me keep reinvesting in this cheap product that continues to disappoint me. And
yeah, I used to be good for that. I was real heavy on the Skull Candy headphones. Some of y'all probably remember Skull Candy. I don't know if they still around. I think they are, but boy, I done went through many of them headphones in my time, them Skull Candy joints. But they were affordable, and they had some of the best bass. Them ear ones, the ones you put in your ear, had some of the best bass. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all out there know, but they were cheap, and I used to have to replace them. And then at some point, I just was like, you know what? I'm going to just get me a pair of Beats, and the rest is history. I don't have no Beats anymore, but yeah.
Break down, all because I did not want to pay that upfront money. It seems like it's more because, yeah, $70, $80, in the hundreds of dollars if you want to get real fancy when it comes to headphones. Yeah, it seems like it's more expensive because the upfront cost is higher than like a $7 headphone. Well, cheapy earbud joints. But in the long run, them $7, $8 add up, and you're left with what? to show for it. Whereas if I just paid the money up front, I would have those headphones for the duration of the time that I had all them cheapy headphones, but even longer. Cheap products, they don't wear as well. If you buy super cheap shoes, the bottoms aren't gonna be working. You're gonna have, shoes that are talking.
Well, I'll say this. The TikTokers and the ambassadors and stuff like that, whatever you call them, would not like to see this video or hear this, because boy, TikTok shop is a breeding ground for cheap stuff. Temu, AliExpress, all of them, Shein, those are breeding grounds for cheap products, and they make billions of dollars. They would not like to see this video where you're telling them that people don't need to be buying anything cheap. No, cheap, fast fashion and all of that. That's what people want for whatever reason, because it is cheap. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to going to the mall and spending money. People are going to be resourceful. Right now, with jobs being so scarce and stuff like that, these companies are making it's raining money, because they're like, yo, now couldn't be a better time to make things cheap, because this is what the majority of people can afford. Now, if people were making top dollar, making 30 plus an hour, they probably would refrain from shopping on the likes of TikTok Shop and Shein and Temu and stuff like that. But hey, when you stagnate people's pay and you don't give them nothing to replace what AI's taking over, yo, people gonna buy stuff cheap.
Every single time you take a step. Cheap appliances, they break down. Cheap furniture, first of all, not comfortable, but then also break down. And then you find yourself replacing them repeatedly. Whereas someone might buy a more expensive shoe, a more expensive appliance, a more expensive piece of furniture. And guess what? They make that purchase once. I do eventually want to do a video on the Temufication of pretty much everything that we buy, because nowadays even the products that are priced where they should last aren't built to last. Shout out to the iPhones that become bricks when they want to sell you a new iPhone. In the general sense, there are some items that if you pay the premium, they will last you forever. They will, well, maybe not forever, but they will last you for a very, very long time. There are some folks that have their great grandparents' furniture and it's still comfortable.
And that's another oxymoron in this whole situation, because like going back to the whole car thing, because again, I drive a Lexus. Okay. Of course, in 2007, when that GS came out, it was what, a $40,000 vehicle, 45, 50, I don't know how much it was. And if we were to go based off of this argument that you shouldn't buy cheap, you would have told the person then, yo, buy the Lexus because that's going to last you a long time. But now that the car is well over 20 years old, the next person, I wouldn't buy that, man. Like, it's old and it's going to have problems. And I know someone say, well, duh, it's going to have problems because it's older. You know what I'm saying? But again, if something was built to last, then of course things got to get replaced. But as long as the heart of the product, is still there, at least in my opinion, why get rid of it? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Still looks good. It may have like a little rustic patina kind of thing going to it because it's aged, but it's still beautiful. It's still functional because it's quality. Okay. You paid for that quality up front and then you have generations to appreciate it.
The cheapest option is going to be less at checkout, but it can cost you more in replacement costs, wasted time, inconvenience, and frustration. As a frugal gal, I'm not saying that the most expensive item is automatically better, but I am saying that price and value are not the same thing.
You keep on thinking that buying the cheapest option is actually saving you money, but what actually happens, and because I've tried this, is you buy the cheap option, it doesn't satisfy you, so then you go and resort to actually buying the name brand option. So you're not saving money, you're actually just spending it twice. Once on something that you think is, cheap, so it's a good deal.
Listen, the reality of this whole situation is that although this does sound good, not everybody can afford to buy expensive. And then let's just walk down that road for a second. If they were to make this where, let's just say everybody decided, you know what, we're going to go with this idea ideology and just pay in bulk, buy brand new cars and stuff like that, what long-term effects will that have on the economy? Because now you're going to essentially kill the used car market. Okay. So there won't be any used cars. Plus, there won't be enough inventory to provide everybody with a new car. Because I watched the video on this. These cars that end up in accidents and collisions and stuff like that at junkyards, they end up taking those car for parts, stripping them, and recycling the metal and steel to produce new vehicles. Because this planet does not have an endless supply of materials to keep making cars. We have to recycle old beat up cars in order to make new ones. You know what I'm saying? So in the general sense, it wouldn't work for everybody to adopt this idea of buying everything new and expensive, because it kills the used secondary, secondhand market. And you need that. You know what I'm saying?
But honey, a good deal does not always equal saving money or being financially responsible.
So I'm here to tell you that paying a premium is not always bad, because you're going to get the level of quality and the product that you actually wanted, as opposed to making a risk and hoping that the cheaper option will be what you wanted or the service that you wanted. The motto I live by is buy once, cry once.
There are some cheaper items that do us justice, okay? I'm not gonna sit over here and say all cheap items break down terribly. No, you might be able to find a diamond in the rough. You might be able to find a diamond in the rough that beats all odds. And it is chef's kiss, lasts for a decent amount of time, and you get way more than your money's worth. By all means, that does exist, but you're gambling, okay? You're gambling every single time you buy that cheapo thing off of Temu. Every time you buy that cheapo thing off of Wish, okay? You might not get what you wish for. Another thing, health. When you have access to resources, you can better invest in preventative care. You can invest in healthier foods. You can invest in getting a gym subscription. There are so many different ways that we can prevent health issues, regular dental checkups, doctor checkups, just all these different things that are.
You know what else is so tripped out? And I think I'm going to let the video play after this because we have 42 minutes. What I find interesting, though, is that this is no secret. Anybody who's an adult, over the age of 21, and I would even go as far as to say 18, anyone 18 and older knows this already. We know better. We know what's best for the planet. We know what's good for people, but we just continue to choose the wrong path. We love to go the wrong way because the wrong way continues to create these conversations, these debates and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Why not just do the right thing from the jump? Everybody should be thinking about their health and wanting to eat right. Everybody in this world should be eating healthy so that they're not malnutrition. You know what I'm saying? Everybody should have a place to live. They should have a roof, a place they can call home. We know this already. We know these are, but instead of that, we would rather people be out here distressed with nothing, and so we have to have these conversations. Like, when does it get to a point where it's like enough is enough? I said this in one of my videos. I said human beings are going to think themselves out of existence because we think too damn much. Because we have been one of the most gifted beings on this planet, we don't use our ability to think for good all the time.
Preventative to avoid health pitfalls in the future. When you are poor, a lot of these things get postponed until they become a problem. Why? Because you can't afford it. Preventative care can be expensive. Essentially, you have small problems that could be nipped in the bud, with preventative care. They snowball, okay? They snowball into major medical bills because once it gets too bad to the point where you rush into the emergency room because you're having a problem, then guess what? Now, healthcare becomes extremely, extremely expensive. It's reactive rather than preventative. Being poor is mad expensive, okay? Your average poor person is paying more, in a sense. They're paying more for basic things than somebody that's doing well off. If you are that person that you're doing well, I suggest you count your blessings, okay? Any of us can end up in terrible situations in the blink of an eye, whether it's a medical emergency, accidents, you name it, getting laid off from your job. Life is unexpected. We never know what's going to happen to us. So I really do want y'all to keep in mind before you start thugging in the comments about how poor people are this and poor people are that could be you. If it was you and you climbed your way out of it, guess what? It could be you again. Rather than us sitting over here and making fun of each other, the best thing that we can do is kind of rally together and figure out solution. If you have any tips or tricks that help you save money, please let us know in the comments, okay? Let us know in the comments, because we all can end up in this position and you never know. You might read a comment under this video. It gives you a tip on saving money, and then maybe in a few years you need that tip. It comes right back to your mind, okay? You filed it away in your brain, and then when you need it, you're able to access it again. So if you have any money saving, different tips, please sound off in the comment section down below. I am curious to hear you guys' thoughts. If you like the video, like the video. The more you interact with it, the more it gets pushed out into the algorithm. Also, hype the video if that's for you, okay? If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's not. If you're feeling a little extra generous, the link is in the description to buy your girl a coffee. Thank you guys so much, and I will see y'all with the next one. Deuces.
All right, y'all. Shouts out to her, Sandra Faye. Make sure y'all go sub up to the channel, get her a coffee. You know what I'm saying? I guess with that, you best get rich in this fiat money system. You know, real quick in closing, everything that was discussed in this video and many other videos that I've done and will continue to do, it really just goes to show you how millions of people are depending on a man-made system that was not designed for this many people to depend on it. Jobs, healthcare, you name it. Nobody in this century, for the most part, maybe just a sprinkle of people, but the majority of people in this century are not self-sufficient. They don't know how to grow their own food. They don't know how to generate their own electricity, how to filter their own water and generate new water supply for themselves. They don't know how to do that. They've been completely dependent on a man-made system that is clearly not all it's cracked up to be. And you're starting to see the cracks in the armor now. All of this, you got to save money, or don't buy a used car, or, you know, you need to buy a house, or you need to do this, you need to go to school. Oh, I got to take out a student loan. It's just all of these different pitfalls. And all it takes is just one thing to just throw your life off. And now everything is shot. You feel me? So again, it's like, where is humanity going at this point? Because we have the same conversations all the time. You feel me? Like, where are we going at this point? When does it get to a space where people aren't depending on this for the most part? It's like, okay, it's there if I want to use it, but I don't need it. I can build my own house. I don't need the government or some publicly traded company or private company to give me a home. No, I know how to build one. I know how to generate my own electricity. I know how to make my own water. You know what I mean? I know how to grow my own food. These are the things that we need to be discussing. This is what they should be teaching people in school, kids in school. That's what we should have been learning, but they kept us distracted with The Great Gatsby and Oedipus Rex and the Odyssey and Hamlet, that stuff that I have not had to use at all since I've been out of high school. It's been almost 20 years since I've been removed from high school, and I've yet to use the Pythagorean theorem. The hell? But I've rambled enough, y'all. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Make sure y'all check the like button, sub to the channel, spam the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this one. I'll be sure to link the video in the description. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Until the next video, I'm out.